There wasn't much to show what happened on the 5th floor of the Grand Hyatt Erawan in Bangkok until the police opened the door. No one heard screams or calls for help. The lunch on the table was still untouched. The only clue something was wrong was that the group was late checking out. Inside room 502, 6 bodies were found, along with teacups laced with some kind of substance. The police quickly realized they had drunk the poisoned tea and identified the victims. But days later, big questions remain. Why them? And who did it? So today, let's talk about the recent Bangkok Grand Hyatt cyanide case. On the evening of July 16th, 2024, after the guests failed to check out as scheduled, a horrifying discovery was made by housekeeping staff at the 5-star Grand Hyatt Erawan Hotel in Bangkok's city center, a popular spot for upscale tourists, celebrities, and dignitaries. In room 502, 6 people were found dead, aged 37 to 56. The victims included Americans and Vietnamese nationals. 4 were found eerily still in the living room, while 2 lay silent in the bedroom. What baffled everyone was the initial belief of a shooting, but the room was locked from the inside and there were no signs of struggle or injury on the bodies. Their luggage was strangely positioned near the front door, leaving the question, what really happened in room 502? An emergency call was made, and police officers, including the commander of the investigation division of the Metropolitan, Tiradat Tamasuti, arrived at the scene the next day at around 5:30 p.m. The victims were identified as 3 women, Nguyen Thi Phuong, Shireen Chong, and Nguyen Thi Phuong Lan, and 3 men, Trung Dien Phu, Dang Hung Van, and Hong Tan Pham. The U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation has joined the Thai authorities in probing the mysterious deaths of 6 foreigners at the luxury hotel, as 2 of the 6 guests found dead at the hotel were U.S. citizens. Police say there were no signs of a struggle, robbery, or forced entry. Investigators found 6 plates of untouched Thai food in the room. The food had been ordered, but not eaten. 2 stainless steel tumblers, a packet of tea, teacups, and open bottles of water lay amid the scene, with some dishes still covered in plastic wrap. Samples of the food and drinks were collected for further investigation. The signs pointed towards poisoning, though the exact cause remained unclear. Only 1 victim had a facial wound, and it was believed that the person had fallen onto a hard object. Professor Wirachai Putawong, a forensic expert, speculated about cyanide poisoning, noting the victim's dark purple lips and nails, which indicated a lack of oxygen, a telltale sign of this deadly substance. This deadly substance is a fast-acting poison that can cause sudden death without any foam at the mouth. It comes in different forms, a colorless gas, liquid, or crystals. People can be poisoned by breathing it in, absorbing it through their skin, or consuming food or drinks containing it. Large amounts can cause lung damage, coma, and death within seconds. Investigators found that the substance was present not only in the tea, but also in the food. This was a significant finding in determining the cause and the perpetrator behind this horrifying poisoning case. The bodies were moved to the Police General Hospital for a thorough autopsy. Major General Kornakath Vongpaisan Sin later confirmed the presence of cyanide in the victims' blood tests. This potent toxin claimed their lives swiftly and silently. Their internal organs had turned dark red. There didn't seem to be any other explanation for their deaths except this deadly substance. They learned from a Vietnamese tour guide, Phan Ngap Wu, who had served the group and knew one of the victims from a previous encounter. One of the female victims, Phuong Lan, had asked him to buy snake medicine number 7 for 11,000 baht. This popular Vietnamese restorative medicine, which contains snake blood for joint pain, is available only in Thailand. Wu arranged for someone named Tiger to purchase and deliver the medicine to Phuong Lan. Police are now reviewing the security footage to locate Tiger, who might know the source of the substance used in their deaths and could identify others involved. Based on this suspicious transaction, Phuong Lan became the initial suspect of the incident. Thai police are now investigating whether the toxin was smuggled into Thailand or purchased locally. Its use in Thailand is heavily regulated, and those found to have unauthorized access face up to 2 years in jail. On July 18th, with autopsies complete, the hospital announced that the bodies would soon be released to their families for burial, if no additional information is required by the police. So the question is, how did a seemingly nice vacation turn so deadly, and who was behind all this? CCTV footage showed some of the 5 victims arriving at the hotel with their suitcases and walking through a garden to their room. Vietnamese media shared an image of a woman named Shireen Chong looking very stressed as she made her way up to her room in a colorful patterned dress just before the murders. No one else was recorded entering or leaving the room. The perpetrator was likely one of the 6 deceased. The idea of all this being planned and knowingly consuming the toxin altogether seems unlikely, as some victims had future travel plans and their bodies were found in different parts of the hotel room. 7 hotel rooms were booked for the group, but only 6 individuals checked in. The missing person, the sister of one of the victims, was supposed to attend but left for Da Nang, Vietnam on July 10th. But the police later confirmed that she was not involved in the incident. And the bodies were found 4 days later, with Vietnamese authorities confirming the death of Trong Dinh Phu among the victims, a talented makeup artist from Da Nang. Phu's parents were completely shocked when they heard the terrible news from friends, colleagues, and the artists he had worked with. A press conference was held, but Phu's family and other families were left with more questions than answers. Then, during an interview with the victims' families, the police found a crucial clue. These interviews provided critical details, revealing that the murders might be connected to either a business or personal conflict among the deceased. Shireen Chong and the group had previously sued each other over an investment dispute in Japan, making her a person of interest. Police thought the motive for the murders could be linked to her inability to repay the investment. Among Shireen Chong's belongings, investigators found documents related to a land litigation case from 2022 and hidden cyanide in her suitcases. 2 metal beverage containers were found right by the dining table in the suite that didn't belong to the hotel. Thai police suspected Shireen Chong may have brought the substance to settle financial disputes within the group and drink it herself as well. Thai police, collaborating with U.S. security agencies and the FBI, looked into Chong's past and her financial entanglements. Shireen Chong was a 56-year-old woman who held both Vietnamese and U.S. passports and had visited Thailand 5 times before. The deceased makeup artist's family revealed that Chong was a special client who paid Phu $5,000 for each trip he made for his services. Phu, who had over 17,000 Facebook followers, spent nearly 20 years in the Vietnamese beauty industry, where he did makeup for celebrities, singers, and beauty queens. Phu had worked for Chong for a year, traveling frequently to Bangkok and Hong Kong. Chong presented herself as the wife of a Dubai billionaire and was known for her exacting standards, even consulting a feng shui master to ensure everything was perfect. But Chong's past was not without controversy. She is said to have lived in Oakland, California, and over a decade ago, she faced accusations of fraud in the US. Vietnamese residents in San Francisco complained that Chong had promised to help them obtain US citizenship in exchange for money, but she deceived them. The case was eventually dropped by US prosecutors. And right before her death, Shireen Chong was involved in a debt dispute with the 2 women and 3 men over more than 7 billion Vietnamese dong, which is about $278,000. All the victims had been duped into making an investment in a hospital project in Japan. They had poured hundreds of thousands into Chong's project. The deceased couple, Tin Nguyen Phuong and Hong Pham Tan, owned a road construction business and had also invested their money. The project, which had collapsed, resulted in a significant financial loss. They got nothing back in return. The couple suspected fraud and filed a lawsuit demanding their money back. The investors were scheduled to meet in court in Japan in 2 weeks, but decided to meet in Bangkok instead. On July 14th, Chong arrived in Bangkok with a Vietnamese-American man, while another Vietnamese couple came separately. The meeting was called to negotiate a settlement. A friend of Phu, the deceased makeup artist, said that Phu had recently returned from a work trip for Chong in Bangkok on July 10th and was called back on July 12th. He told his parents he was heading to Thailand for a 3-day work retreat from July 12th to 15th. So he went to the gathering to work for Chong, while Tin Nguyen Phuong Lan, also one of the victims, was there to act as her intermediary with the couple about the investment. The group checked into the hotel separately over the weekend and were assigned 5 rooms, 4 on the 7th floor and 1 on the 5th. Chong stayed in room 502. The tension was palpable. The next day, on July 15th, after an initial meeting failed to resolve the dispute, Dan Hong Van ordered 6 cups of tea, and Phu ordered fried rice from their rooms. They requested that the food and tea be delivered to room 502 at 2 p.m., and Chong was alone in the suite at that time. The waiter offered to brew tea for the group, but Chong refused. She spoke very little and was visibly under stress. After the waiter left, the rest of the group began arriving. The couple entered, carrying a suitcase for further talks. By 2:17 p.m., all 6 were seen by the door before it was shut. And from then on, there was no movement from inside. According to the investigation, the case appears to have been orchestrated by Shireen Chong. The cyanide had been mixed into a pot of tea suspected to have been brewed by herself. Showing a darkened tea bag taken from the scene, forensic investigators said the tea was abnormally dark, leading them to suspect that it was laced with a large amount of toxic substances. Cyanide can produce a bitter almond smell, but unfortunately, it couldn't be detected. By the evening of July 16th, the hotel staff was surprised that no one in the group had checked out. They were scheduled to check out that day, and all of their belongings were packed up, ready to leave. None of the victims had paid for their stay. By then, they had been dead for 12 to 24 hours. This is a very recent case, so the investigation is still ongoing, with authorities piecing together the final moments of the victims' lives. What is certain is that officials want the matter resolved quickly. But for now, it seems like Chong was the one who planned all this, and the rest were just victims of her dark plan. Thai police are not considering other possible suspects, as Suite 502, where the bodies were discovered, had been locked from the inside, and no one else was found to have entered. As for Thai authorities, the timing couldn't have been worse. They had just expanded visa-free entry to 93 countries to boost tourism. In a statement on July 16th, the Thai government said that the Prime Minister had ordered all agencies to urgently take action to avoid impact on tourism. It seems they are very concerned about the impact of this incident, especially given that it happened in a 5-star hotel. Officials are now trying their best to contain panic among tourists and the public, according to reports. The case has drawn widespread attention, focused on the tragic outcome of a debt dispute and the many unanswered questions surrounding Chong's actions. Fu's mother, heartbroken, said she never expected that her son's work trip would end in such a way. How can someone poison and kill others for money like that? And why did Chong choose to end everything in such a horrific way, taking others with her? With the perpetrator dead, we may never fully understand the reason behind her actions. But there are speculations that this case is not as simple as it looks. There is significant public skepticism about the police's findings, with many questioning the plausibility of the official narrative and the thoroughness of the investigation. The first question raised was regarding the Thai police's findings that all the victims drank the tea at the same time and died altogether within minutes. Police stated that traces of cyanide were found in the liquid from a teapot and in 6 cups in the hotel room. But isn't it strange that all 5 victims drank the tea simultaneously? Those who drank later would have had the chance to get out of the locked room and avoid the poison. Thai authorities didn't specify the exact amount of the substance found, merely stating that it was detected in the victims' bodies and the tea. Fu's mother told the press that photos from the crime scene showed a water bottle on the table in the hotel room. She said her son never drank tea, coffee, or beer. When he traveled, he often bought a water bottle and always opened it himself. So how did he get poisoned? And also, Thai police suspect Mrs. Chong poisoned the victims over a debt of approximately 7 billion Vietnamese dong. And this led to conflicts, prompting a meeting in Bangkok to resolve the issue. However, the alleged debt seems insufficient to motivate such a drastic action, especially considering the suspect's alleged wealth. Mrs. Chong presented herself as the wife of a wealthy Dubai businessman. And she actually paid her makeup artist generously, giving him $5,000 per trip. But she does this over $278,000. That raised questions among locals. And also, some people say Shireen Chong is a US citizen, so she could just flee to the US and the Vietnamese couple wouldn't be able to get her, suggesting there was no need to take everyone's lives, including her own. So who is this woman? Was she even wealthy at all? Additionally, the identity and background of Shireen Chong raised doubts, as the surname Chong suggests Chinese heritage, conflicting with the description of her being Vietnamese American. And there is another interesting perspective. Chong was known to be very superstitious. Her makeup artist Fu only got the job after a feng shui master said Fu was good for Shireen if he did her makeup. And the couple victim, Mr. and Mrs. Tan, who invested the money, was believed to have gone to Thailand to meet some spiritual master. In early July 2024, Mr. and Mrs. Tan told their family that Mrs. Chong invited them to Thailand to meet a monk for a blessing ceremony. Believing it was just a spiritual trip, Mr. and Mrs. Tan, along with Mrs. Fong Lan, traveled to Thailand to meet Chong. Mr. Tan's brother said if it wasn't for the blessing ceremony, he, who was busy with his construction business, wouldn't have had time for such a trip. Regarding the 7 billion Vietnamese dong, the family confirmed that Mr. and Mrs. Tan had asked Chong to repay the money, but they were not as aggressive as reported by the media. So was the money enough motive for the crime? Was there another possible motive, like something ritual? This led to speculations that the killings were related to some kind of cult practice. According to local media, during the investigation, Thai police found a suspicious photo on Chong's phone containing a text written in Chinese, mainly focusing on money matters. The note read, "Money is my servant, as it comes whenever I need it. With the amount I desire, the more power I have, the more money I get. Love is the greatest power in the world, and love comes with money. I am a master of love, and money will always come to me. I have love, so I have money." It is currently unclear whether Chong wrote this text herself or if it is a photo of someone else's letter. It is also unknown whether this text is related to any cult or belief of Chong that could have led to the murders. People are also questioning whether the sister of Nguyen Thi Vuong Lan, the one who went back to Vietnam early, was not involved in the case. Even though media states she is not suspicious, some people are questioning her part in this. There are so many questions unanswered, but we don't know whether they will ever be answered. The Thai police's swift conclusion, identifying Mrs. Chong as the suspect within 24 hours, has raised concerns about the thoroughness of the investigation. Critics argue that this rapid resolution might be an attempt to quickly close the case and mitigate its impact on tourism. This has led to suspicions of a cover-up or a rush to judgment. This case remains fraught with unanswered questions and inconsistencies. So what are your thoughts on this case? Share your theory in the comments. And that is all for today. Thanks for watching.